What's up, folks? It's Parallax Abstraction, and welcome to Indie Showcase. This is one that's actually very new. We're going to be putting this video up hopefully a couple of days before this comes out, so I'm not behind the curve on this one. And this is one I'm actually excited to talk to you about because we don't get a lot of indie racing games, really. I mean, there's some here and there, but certainly not as much as you would get in other genres. And I've been quite enjoying this, so I'm looking forward to talking about it. So this is Art of Rally. Comes to us from a very small developer, Canadian-based actually, based out in Vancouver, called Funselektor, whose previous work was another game focused on drifting, which was called, yeah, here it is right here, Absolute Drift, from about 5 years ago. And that was quite well regarded at the time. And this game's very interesting. It's a rally racing game, but it's top-down, kind of in an old-school type of way. And it's got this very minimalist sort of simpler aesthetic that I actually really appreciate, and it's kind of almost like a Zen game a little bit. I've been enjoying it a lot. So this is pre-release. I actually didn't get any information on what the pricing is going to be, so it could be 10 bucks, 15, 20, I'm not sure. It's launching initially only on PC, on Steam and GOG. No console announcements yet, but there is a demo available. So if you go to the Steam page for this game, you can actually try it out even pre-release if you're watching this soon enough. So yeah, but I'm anxious to show this guy off. I've put a decent amount of time into it. This is actually a very good what I call second screen game. So I was actually I played a lot of this while I was watching stuff on my second monitor, and that's not an insult. There's actually a lot of games that are very good for that. That you can focus on while having something else on in the background. I like games like that sometimes. They're somewhat relaxing. And this has definitely been that. So this is a game that has a lot of different cars and tracks and types of things like that in it, but it's not a simulator by any means. It doesn't have actual licensed cars in it, though you can tell pretty well what it's trying to show off here. And it's got a bunch of different modes, which is really nice. It's got a career mode, which sort of takes you through the different eras of Rally, up to from its early incarnations to much more recent eras, and you get to drive more and more powerful and modern cars as you do that. There's a time attack mode. You can set up custom rallies if you like with different track settings. Online events are daily and weekly challenges, and of course this whole thing has online leaderboards. There's also a free roam mode, which has collectibles in it. There's no multiplayer. This is a strictly single-player experience aside from the leaderboards, and that is very much by design. So I played a bunch of this so far, so you see you'll start evolving up through things here. So you start in Group 2, then you go to Group 3, Group 4, B, S, and A, and these are, you get cars that are more and more modern as you go here. And you're playing the actual real pure way Rally is, which is multi-stage time-based events. That's just you. You're not racing against real opponents on the track. It's you against other people who are racing for time, and how you win is by completing the overall course in the lowest amount of time. That's how Rally works. So you can change your AI difficulty here to various different things. I'm going to tell you, I've had no problems on normal so far. It's been very easy to come in first all the time. There is also damage levels in this. I'm going to say that default, I've never actually had to repair my car yet, even when I've screwed up and hit some things. So you might want to turn that up a little bit. But again, a simulator this is not. This is very much an arcade game. And here you go. You have your different cars that you can pick based on the era that you're in. So you have different ones here. So I mean, you have Le 5 Das VIP, the Turbo Brick, or the Das Uber VIP, or the Kaza. You can kind of tell what these are if you're familiar with Rally a little bit. I like rally racing myself, so I'm not huge into it, but I do enjoy it. And there's various liveries that you have here, and you can unlock more of them as well. So here you get your listing of your different stages that you go through, and you see there that there's a wrench, and that indicates stages that you can execute repairs on. You can only, same thing in real Rally, you can only repair at certain different stages within the race. So when you get these tracks in different order, I'm not sure if they're randomly generated or just randomly picked. But you'll get these different tracks here, and you'll see what I mean when I'm talking about the minimalist aesthetic here. So we're going to start this up, begin the stage. I'm playing with an Xbox One controller here. You can play this game with a keyboard and mouse, but really you want a controller for this thing. You really want analog throttle in this. Because like rally racing in real life, well, when you're not screwing up like that, you've got to drift around corners, and you've got to try to maintain your speed, but you've got to be able to feather that throttle and really work your brakes and throttle frequently off and on. You've got to really put a lot of effort into that. This is not as simple as just driving in a straight line like a drag race or going around a static track. Everything is quite a bit different in this. You do have the option as well for a manual transmission. I tried it once and it just kind of broke my brain, so I've been sticking with automatic. But you can see what you're doing here. But you see what I was talking about this sort of minimalist aesthetic. Everything is very flat shaded. You know, the 3D is not overly complicated. I mean, I'm running this on my 1080 Ti with everything completely cranked, capped at 144 frames a second. And it's running like butter, absolutely. I have had some hitching on occasion, but I don't think that's the game. I've had some problems with hitching with this GPU in general lately, so I got a 3080 on back order, so I won't have it for too much longer. So you're sort of seeing what the point is here. You can see on the left there, you've got your progress meter that's indicating how far you are in this particular stage. You're going to have multiple stages to get through it. You see here as well, in true rally fashion, there's all the fans standing along the track. No, you can't mow them down for extra points. Somebody wants to mod in a mode for that, I'm just saying. They will always get out of your way, and even if you hit one, it just kind of gets pushed off to the side. But some of these tracks, some of these stages aren't super long. Some of them can be quite a bit longer. And it's kind of what I like about this. This is a game that you can't, like, do a 5-minute session in, but you can come in, do a few stages in well under half an hour. Like, this is a game you could lunch break if you wanted. I don't know how well this runs on things like integrated graphics chips or lower-end machines or things like that. If you turn the detail down, I can't see why you couldn't run this on a relatively modern, like, Intel graphics or something, but your mileage may vary, no pun intended. I've never actually tried that myself. But you're kind of seeing what I'm doing here. So the core mechanics of the game are quite simple. You accelerate with one trigger, you brake with another trigger, and then if you tap the B button, you on this controller anyway, you will execute a handbrake turn. But you gotta be careful with this. Depending on the car that you're driving and the track that you're on, you've got to be prepared to really lead your turns and lead your slides. See, that wasn't a bad one there, but I didn't take it as fast as I could. Like a lot of games, if you bump things, it can get you spun around and it can really screw you up. So you've got to really be careful here, and you've got to really get to know the car that you're driving and know how it likes to take turns. I've driven a bunch of different cars from a bunch of different eras. It's starting to get a little more challenging as I get higher up in the group stages, only because the cars are getting more modern and they're a lot faster. Like, I'm driving cars with well over 300 horsepower at this point compared to the early stages where you're driving well under that. Again, in a way that is not a simulator, things like this picket fence I'm hitting here, see, I screwed that up. See, it's not destroyable. Any solid objects you hit in this game largely are not destructible. You know, you can run over signs and things like that will slow you down. But if there's a border along the track, like this solid fence, you're not going through it. The game expects you to stay on the road. Now, in the free roam mode, which I'll show you a little bit more of after, that's different. But free roam mode really has nothing to do with this at all, with what we're doing here. That's really the principal other game mode. So you see here, now you see I screwed that up there. This is going to happen to you a lot. Now, what you do have an option to do here, if you like, is if you go too far off the road, you saw it at the beginning there, it will spawn you back on the road, but you're going to take a 5-second time penalty. Now, if you feel that you're really falling too far behind and that you're going to lose points on the stage, you can restart. But over the course of a full race event, you only have a limited number of restarts, and the further in you get, the higher up in the stages you get, the lower those total restarts can be. If you have one restart or more left, when you complete a series, you'll unlock another livery for another car. But you have to have a restart left. If you run out your restarts, you don't get that. I've never run out my restarts yet, though I have come close, especially in these later stages. So you see there I have 3 restarts left. I believe you have either 5 or 6 at the start. So you see here it shows the staging results. I didn't place too well on that one, the overall rally results. But the thing is, every one of these I've done so far, I always come out on top in the end. even if I don't win every stage. It's not that hard. Again, on normal AI difficulty, this game is not very hard. It can be if you turn things up, but by default, it's not. So you see here, it shows the leaderboard. It shows your progress in real time. This game is not out yet, so this is mostly other reviewers, I suspect. But it shows that, and it will show your percentage progress up and down in between each stage, which I really like. There's also a full replay editor here where you can go, or you can go through and see your car from different angles and all sorts of other things. It's quite robust. There's also a really good photo mode in the game that allows you to, do all kinds of things here and take your car in really cool poses. Always love a good photo mode. I wish more games had that. So you see here, you can save where you were and quit from the menu. You don't have to do the entire season in one go if you want. I'll show you another one here, and then we'll go in and do some. Free roam. But you're kind of getting the base of it here. This is really just. It's a pure, straightforward, arcadey rally game with this sort of minimalist aesthetic. It's not trying to be everything. It's not trying to have 50 different modes. It's not trying to be the next. It's not trying to be, a top-down Forza Horizon. It's, as the name implies, it is called Art of Rally, and it is really about making a sort of arcade tribute, I think, to this form of racing, very much as the developer's first game did to drifting. I think that's really cool. I really like that this is kind of focusing generally on doing one thing really well and making that really fun, rather than trying to do a whole bunch of things, or this being a small indie game trying to cram in, a full online racing mode that is probably not going to last very long, because this is an indie game and people tend to play indie games and move on. They don't tend to keep lasting multiplayer communities. So rather than have a full multiplayer mode, it just has daily and weekly challenges, which can run, ad infinitum, and it has leaderboards, and the leaderboard functionality works, works very well. It's nice and quick. It's easy to look through to see your scores and compare things against. And I've had a lot of fun with this. I intend to beat this, absolutely. And again, this is a great second screen game. I was watching a whole bunch of basically TV shows on my second monitor while I was just doing races in this, and I was having a great time. I was really enjoying this. I didn't have to focus so hard like this that I couldn't pay attention to the show that was going on, but it still gave me something that gave me this sort of satisfaction of making progress in a game even while that was going on. I do really like the look as well. I really love the bright popping colors. I love that bokeh focus effect there that it has on the distant background. I think that funselektor has come up with a really striking aesthetic that I think looks really, really good. And I believe their last game came to consoles, so I assume this will at some point. I hope it does. This would obviously have no problems running on anything, including the Switch. The only thing I will say about this engine as well, in addition to the stuttering I had, which admittedly, again, it might be my GPU, not this, there's a lot of pop-in. You'll probably see it if you watch along the sides there. You're going to see a lot of foliage blinks in and out, things like that. That can be a little bit distracting, and for a game that's kind of as low demand by design as this one is, it would be nice to see that rectified if possible. The pop-in like that, especially when it's popping in right alongside your car as you're driving, it's a little distracting. It's not really my favorite thing to see. But it's kind of that's a very minor thing overall. And yeah, and obviously the controls take a little bit of getting used to. Again, this is not a simulator. It is an arcade game, but it's still trying to imitate what real rally racing is like, and that means having to lead your turns, know when to tap the e-brake, know when to not go into a corner full throttle, when to keep things sort of, when to only lean in half throttle in order to keep a drift moving or things like that. It does expect a little bit of you. And I imagine if you were to turn up the damage threshold or the AI difficulty, you'd probably have to be really good at this. This is a game that no doubt could challenge you if you wanted to, but that doesn't seem to be its default position. That's not really what it's expecting out of the box. This is supposed to be more fun than challenging. But for those who really want that challenge, it's there. So, free roam, here it is. So I've only got the one that at this point that I haven't done yet. You see, you can choose your weather as well, which is nice. But you see here, you've got the funselektor van, cassettes, viewpoints, and rally letters. So you have to find these things in the world. I've not found everything, obviously. I haven't spent too much time in this, to be honest. I've just kind of messed around a little bit. I assume I have to find everything in this one to unlock the other one. And honestly, I don't know what you get for unlocking everything. I'm going to guess more liveries, maybe more cars, but probably not. I've been unlocking cars pretty consistently as I've completed different stages. But this is just more of a fun screw around in the world kind of thing. But finding everything in this can be challenging because, so there is a map, which you can bring up by pressing start, but a lot of the collectibles are not on the road. So because this is a free roam, it is just that. You want to drive off the road, you go right ahead. It'll let you. And a lot of the collectibles in this are not on the road. Most of the ones that I found so far are, but I believe I've driven the entirety of the roads on this map, and I've not found everything. So if you want to find everything in a given map, you're probably going to be crawling it. You know, sort of doing your search grid pattern, if you will, to try to find every little thing. So this is a free roam mode, which does allow you to just sort of screw around and have fun, but it is definitely a collectible mode as well. So it does give you an objective as opposed to just being a free roam mode that is literally, hey, drive around this map and I don't know. It does give you something else that you can work on if you like, which is nice. You know, I do enjoy that. You can choose to pursue this stuff or not as you so choose, but as I said, if you want to find everything and especially unlock the other free roam modes, it might take you a while. Wow. That had a hashtag underneath it. That's pretty funny. So it's going to take you a while to find everything. But this would also be a good place to get out and practice. Like if you want to try to play the game with a manual transmission, for example, or just get used to the idea of how certain cars work. This is a good opportunity to get out and practice as well, right? So there is that. Once again, there's a photo mode in here too, which is nice. And then, yeah, you can go into things like the online events. You can hit daily. It will quickly do a little download. And then you'll have the daily event, and then you'll be able to compete on that daily event's specific leaderboards, which is nice. Taking a while. Looks like it didn't download it. This is pre-release, so maybe they don't have all the events lined up for every day at this point. And you see here there's a time attack as well, which is just straight up, you know, local leaderboards. So let's try one of these out. So this is just how quick can you do it? It's speed running, effectively. You know, can you shave off your time here? And you're sort of getting the idea. But yeah, I think this is really interesting and unique. You know, finding a racing game that's unique is not always the easiest thing these days because, you know, it's racing, right? There's only so much you can do without deviating from the formula too much unless you just want to make something that's completely, you know, off the wall and different and in many cases unrealistic, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But this developer has found a really clever, interesting balance between not making a simulator game, you know, not making another dirt game, and there's nothing wrong with dirt, don't get me wrong, but not making a dirt game, but not making something that is just so arcadey that it doesn't really resemble anything. Like, they're not making a Sega Rally, for example, and I like Sega Rally as well, but Sega Rally doesn't hold the slightest compulsion of being anything like a real rally game. This is kind of strikes a balance. I mean, one, it's top-down, which you don't see very much anymore. It's got its very different own visual design language, and it maintains the things that people expect out of rally racing, i.e. the tricky, you know, the environments, the difficulty turning, you know, having to really manage your throttle, things like that. And, of course, the methodology of rally racing, which is time-based stages with a single car and no field. But it also makes it arcadey and casual enough that it's accessible and it can be challenging without being infuriating or demanding the level of precision out of you that a simulator would. It's a very interesting balance that you really don't see from a lot of games these days. It doesn't go full arcade and it doesn't go full sim. It's kind of straddles the line very, very well. And you don't see a lot of devs who can really do this well. Clearly, funselektor has found something that really lands in that spot in between the two. And I quite enjoy it. I mean, really, you're sort of seeing the bulk of it here. I've really shown you what you're getting into. And even if this is 20 bucks, again, I don't know what the final pricing is going to be. I'm going to guess either 15 or 20 bucks. 20 bucks, you can get a lot of hours out of this. I put almost 5 hours into this so far, and I'm maybe halfway through the campaign. So if you wanted to just do the campaign, not even the daily and weekly challenges, not free roam, not anything else, you could get 10 hours out of this. That's a lot of time for an indie game these days. So here's the repair thing. Oh, look, wow, so you can go auto repair. So you see there, you only have so much time you're allowed to dedicate to repair. Again, just like real rallies. So you got to be careful about that. For once, I actually had to fix my engine. This is literally the first time I've had to fix anything other than cleaning the car. So that's interesting. Yeah, auto repair will make the best choices for you. But if you have higher damage threshold on, you're going to have to mix and match that because you will not have enough time to fix everything if you have high damage turned up. And you have to balance and choose what you want to fix that you think is going to be your best option to get through the stage without totally breaking your car, but also knowing that you're not going to be able to be 100% every time. That's where the real challenge is. And yeah, I think it's kind of zen, honestly, in a way. And I think if you want a real challenge out of this game will accommodate you, but that is not the default experience it's going to give you. The default experience is one that's a little bit more arcadey and definitely a bit more chill. But I kind of enjoy that about it. It's sort of funny because the minimalist aesthetic of this reminds me of Lonely Mountains Downhill, which is another game that I covered on this channel a while back. Now, the difference being that Lonely Mountains Downhill is very challenging out of the gate. That is not an easy game, and it doesn't profess to be an easy game. This game has that sort of aesthetic, and it really, much like Lonely Mountains Downhill, really captures the feel of what it's trying to do. Lonely Mountains Downhill was about hardcore mountain bike racing, and you could tell the developers really appreciated that and wanted to try to recreate a version of that experience. This wants to do the same thing, but this is definitely a little bit easier about it. But it's not just come up to a corner, push the analog stick to the left, and it makes the turn. You've got to know how rally is supposed to work. And you don't have to be as good at it as a real rally driver, but you still have to know and appreciate the art of rally, if you will. And it's very clever. It's a balance of design elements that we don't see very often, and it is one that I really, really appreciate. So I've enjoyed this a lot, and I'm probably going to finish it. And I really wanted to show it to you guys because I thought you guys might as well. So that is Art of Rally, developed and published by funselektor. It is on Steam and GOG. It will be launching on the 23rd of September 2020. Again, I don't know for how much. I'm guessing 15 or 20 bucks. I think it's totally worth it with that, especially if you like arcade racing games, for sure. Hopefully this comes to consoles like their last game did. This would run great on all the systems out there, and it would be a great experience. Again, you can play this with a keyboard and mouse. Definitely do it with one of these if you can, because otherwise I think it would be a lot harder. But it's a good zen time and something that you can really focus on or play in the background, which is a great option as well. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy what you saw here, please do me a favor, click all the things, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell, and spread it around. Please tell people about this. My last couple of videos didn't do as well as I'd hoped, so I think the algorithm's mad at me. So if we could get some word out about this, I would really appreciate it. And leave a comment as well. Tell me what you think about this game. I have a soft spot in my heart for top-down racing games from back in my retro days. So do you know any other good ones out there that you think would be cool in addition to this one? Because I love that type of stuff, and I'd really like to play more of that. So thank you very much for watching, everybody, and I will see you on the next episode of Indie Showcase. You folks have yourselves a good one. Take it easy.